Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss Lily.
Today we're going to start our day by talking a little bit about our planet.
Space?
No, Amanda. We're going to start learning about climate change.
What's climate change?
I'm glad you asked. Climate change is a change in a global or regional climate patterns. This means that the world around us is changing in temperature and in its weather patterns.
Why does this happen?
Well, many factors play into climate change. It is greatly impacted by the increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels. Let's dive in. Before we discuss climate change, we must first talk about how our climate works on Earth. Our planet is heated by our sun through the process of radiation. When the sun provides the heat radiation to the planet for energy, some of this radiation is trapped within Earth's atmosphere. This radiation then is absorbed by greenhouse gases that exist in our atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases. These gases then emit the absorbed solar energy in all directions, which in turn heats our planet. This is how life is able to exist on Earth, because without this process, the Earth would be 30 degrees Celsius colder and life would not exist. Although the system is a crucial part of life on Earth, recently humans have started to throw a wrench in the system. Humans have been creating a surplus of greenhouse gases over the years due to the industrial boom and the increase of corporate factories. These factories release these gases which rise into the atmosphere and therefore trap more solar energy and raise the temperature of the atmosphere. The Industrial Revolution began in 1750, and since then CO2 levels have been staggering 30%, and methane levels have increased by 140%. This high level of greenhouse gases is too large to be absorbed by natural bodies, such as the oceans, or used for photosynthesis, so the gases simply remain trapped in the atmosphere. The amount of CO2 in the atmosphere is now at the highest it has been in more than 800,000 years. This huge increase in the greenhouse gas levels in our atmosphere has made some impact on the Earth and the temperature of the Earth. Since the late 19th century, the average temperature of the Earth has risen by 0.8 degrees Celsius or 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. 0.6 Celsius of the increase happened in just the past 3 decades. Sea levels are also rising at a rate of 3 millimeters per year due to the melting of glaciers and thermal expansion. Thermal expansion is when the temperature of seawater increases and the water molecules expand because they are less densely packed. This creates the rising level of the sea because the volume of water is expanding. The glacier and polar ice sheets are also melting due to the rise in temperature, and the melted water is rising sea levels as well. Satellite records dating back to 1979 have shown that the amount of Arctic sea ice is declining at a rate of 4% per decade. So, overall, it has been predicted by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that the average surface temperature of the Earth will have risen past 1.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the 21st century since 1850. Next comes migration. Migration is the movement of animals or people from one location to another. Many animals, specifically seasonally, migrate to new regions. Megan?
But where do these animals move to?
Good question, Megan. Let's take a look. There are many requirements that must be met for both humans and animals to live. Food, water supply, and shelter are just 3 of these necessities. Species reside in an area when it is able to supply all that is needed to support and sustain life. When a habitat is no longer able to provide all that is required to sustain life, species must move and seek a new place to live. This new location must provide the essentials that the previous location had, so that the species will continue to thrive. The act of moving in search of a new location that provides what is needed to live is called migration. So now we understand migration. However, there have been some problems with animal migration recently. Usually the animals move to wherever they can find food and water, but recently there have been issues with some animals' migrations due to the climate change we discussed earlier. Yes, Amanda?
But how is climate change impacting migration?
Good question, Amanda. Let's look and see. Climate change is affecting food, water supply, and weather patterns, just to name a few. People, as well as animals, rely on these things, and when they change, they have to find an alternative. For many species, this means that they have to move to a new area, or, as we just learned about, migrate. Ultimately, the climate change impacts the resources species need to live, and once they become scarce, the species must migrate elsewhere to find what they need in order to sustain life. Yes, Jess?
What type of animals are getting affected by climate change?
Great question. Well, the wildebeest, monarchs, and reindeer are all being affected by this climate change. In Sweden, the Sami people are noticing climate change when it comes to the herding of reindeer. The reindeer typically have been herded over a 2-week period in November. However, it is December this year, 2018, and the reindeer have yet to be herded due to a lack of snow. The Sami people who herd the reindeer as a yearly tradition have noticed that temperatures have been changing from above and below freezing, which they've never encountered before. The next type of animal that have been affected by climate change are monarch butterflies. These beautiful creatures are becoming extinct due to change in temperature. Also, extreme weather like wildfires and droughts is making it hard for milkweed plants to stay alive. Monarch butterflies are very dependent on milkweed, so with the milkweed decreasing, it is having a negative effect on the monarch population. From March 2016, the count of monarch butterflies has decreased by 68%, which makes the population at 150 butterflies.
Sudden changes in their environment can mean disaster. A January 2002 rainstorm, followed with freezing temperatures, claimed as many as 250 million, almost 80% of the population, in the El Rosario Butterfly Sanctuary, just one of a half-dozen sanctuaries in the area.
Two extreme kinds of weather that can affect animal migration is drought and rainfall. Flash flooding makes it difficult for herds of animals to cross rivers and migrate compared to the normal weather pattern. On the other hand, drought causes the animals to search farther away for a source of water. This may cause them to end up in areas that are developed that have fencing that may act as a barrier to them. The reduced amount of rainwater over the years has also negatively impacted the migrations of many species of animals. As water and food sources grow more scarce, animals are forced to move and change their migration patterns to survive. Lack of water could mean that migrating wildebeest run at the risk of a large part of their population dying within 2 weeks and may ultimately face extinction. Okay, class, so what have you guys learned today?
I get it!
What?
These animals are having such a hard time migrating due to the changing temperature and water conditions.
Great job, Amanda! You guys learned so much today. You're all now migration and climate change experts.